So this is going to be a 2-loop run. I'm going to have the timer running separately for each one of them. World record for the first loop is 12:14. It's significantly easier than the second loop. Second loop is going to probably be a damn mess because it's really hard. I do have the world record in that too, but as far as I know, I'm the only person crazy enough to try to speedrun it so far. So we'll see how this goes. For first loop, if you're ready on the timer, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So first thing you're probably going to notice is that this game is a bit like a cross between Contra and V, because it's a one-hit death. There's shooter, it's run and gun, but as you'll see in a second, you can also flip gravity and walk on the ceiling for as long as you feel like, which is obviously a pretty important game mechanic. And it also affects certain enemies. And I just picked up two things that are going to be critically important. The Gravity Fireball, which as you see turns my gravity move into a giant flaming ball of death, which unfortunately doesn't get a whole lot of use in the run because the power beam is more important. But the armor also lets me take a hit, and when I run into something with the armor power-up, it also does a ton of damage to whatever I hit. So I just killed that mini-boss by running into it. Normally it takes probably, 3 or 4 seconds to kill it. So it saves time to grab the armor power-up. And that was a boss. That was the first boss. The power beam does double damage. It will go through walls, and it's got a wider hitbox than the normal gun. So I'll be using that for 95% of the runs. Or 95% of the runtime, rather. But the Gravity Fireball does make a couple of appearances, mostly in the second loop. But I will use it one more time in the first loop as well. So this stage gimmick is that it loops vertically. Oops. So you go off the top and you come around back on the bottom. Oops, wait. I'm doing second loop strats. I've been practicing second loop way too much lately. So sometimes I forget, oh wait a minute, it's not second loop, stuff is in a different place. Because second loop does a lot of things differently. So I'm picking up the armor power-ups in certain spots because I'm going to be using them for running through the invincibility period that it grants me. These swinging doors are instant kills even if you have a gravity power-up, because they're a crush death, and crush deaths count as... crush deaths are instant kills in this game. Okay, so this guy is pretty pattern-based, but he sometimes does weird things, so let's see how he goes. Okay, that was just about perfect. So, I'd say probably about 95% of the time that guy goes correctly, but every once in a while he'll shoot a laser at a weird time and hit me. Which, if I'm doing a world record attempts, would be a reset. But, for a marathon I just keep going. Because it's not a big deal to end up having to pick up an extra armor power-up somewhere along the line. And in case you didn't notice, the parallax scrolling that they put into this game is pretty crazy for an NES game. I basically got 3 loops. Wow, I'm an idiot. I totally forgot to grab something important. Alright, okay, I can still remember this. This isn't too big a deal. I was too busy explaining things and totally forgot that I was supposed to grab the Gravity Fireball. But it's not a big deal. It's gonna throw off the cycle for this, so it might... Okay, alright, that could have gone worse. So I'm gonna use the armor to boost through this guy. Just stand in a safe spot and kill him immediately. He's not super hard if I don't have the armor power up, but it saves a good, 4 seconds. So the next stage is an auto-scroller, so if you have a moment, you can go ahead and grab a snack if you want to. There's a whole lot to say about this stage. At least not in the first loop. In the second loop, this stage is a lot harder, because they completely changed that. Not only do they completely change the layout, but they change like what spawns. You go in different directions, there's a million more things. You know, in the second loop everything has more health, and you shoot more shots. This level is completely different in the second loop. But we'll get to that when we get there. And these green spinning things are completely indestructible, and they hurt you if you touch them, unless you have the gravity fireball, because the gravity fireball actually makes you invincible to just about everything. It does not make you invincible to crush deaths, unfortunately, but it makes you invincible to basically everything else. And there's actually a trick you can do. Like normally when the gravity fireball does a ton of damage compared to most other weapons in the game. Actually, I need to concentrate for this real quick. It is a bit annoying. Okay, perfect. So Gravity Fireball does more damage than anything else in the game, but unfortunately you have to run into whatever it is you're trying to damage, which means that if it doesn't die to the Gravity Fireball, there's a good chance that it'll screw you up when you land. This is the one time in the run you're going to see the shield. It's totally useless for a speed run, but I grab it, and now it's gone. I have to give it its moment in the sun. It's the only time it gets used. But anyway, so the Gravity Fireball does the most damage out of anything in the game, but if you land with the Gravity Fireball, it turns the Gravity Fireball off, and then if whatever you're running into isn't dead by the time you land, it'll hurt you. However, there's a 2-frame window where you can flip the Gravity Fireball again. Unfortunately, there aren't that many places where it's useful. So it's not really something that comes into play in a real-time speedrun. In a TAS setting, you can actually, since you can flip every second frame, which is basically humanly impossible, but in a TAS setting you can skip through huge sections of the levels by just like barreling through things that would normally kill you. But sadly, I don't know of anybody who's capable of flipping 30 times per second, so it's not usable in a real-time setting. This boss is a little weird. It's got 2 toothpaste laser shooters on the top and the bottom that you can kill, but you don't have to. You can just dodge their shots and kill the red thing in the center, and that's enough to get the boss dead. And now here comes the stage where most runs die, because these lasers are on a fixed cycle, and if you miss one, it'll cost you at least 3 seconds. So you have to make sure that you can get through the lasers fast enough to get the right cycle, otherwise you'll have to wait. Okay, so that was actually not quite what was supposed to happen there. I think I must have mistimed something, but it's not a big deal. Means I need to get this instead. So that would have been a reset in a record attempt. So I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. So I need to shoot these guys in a particular pattern so that their death wave goes in the right spot, and well, there's another mistake. Otherwise, I have to waste more time dodging them. So I'm gonna kill this thing. It's gonna get in my way. Whoop, and I went too early. Great. I went like a split second too early. Oh well. If I was gonna die anywhere, it was gonna be here, so I'm not too upset about that. Although that does waste a good 20 seconds or so. Although, I have to be honest, I was not expecting that to be the mistake I made. Alright, so I'm going to use the armor invincibility to just run through and get to the boss. So this is another run-ender right here, because this guy isn't like 100% random, but he's random enough that he sometimes can be kind of hard to react to. And if he gives you a bad pattern, he can shoot you in ways that are basically impossible to dodge if you're going for world record strats. So that was okay. Ideally, I want to kill him before he turns red the second time. But that was only like maybe a couple seconds slower than it should have been. Lost way more time dying, so. And this stage is a great way to give yourself a headache. Thankfully, it's relatively simple once you know the route through it. Oh look, the shield is back. Oh wait, no, he's gone again. So as you can see, this stage also wraps off the top and the bottom, but unlike the second stage, the screen is moving the whole time rather than following you. So it's a great way to give yourself a headache. In the Japan... Whoops. That's a small problem. I actually wanted to save that armor for the boss rush, but it's not a big deal. Which means you guys get to see the backup strat for the stage 3 boss when I get there. So in the Japanese version of this game, there's actually barriers of death off the top and the bottom of the screen, which completely changes the route you have to take to that level. I've never bothered to actually figure that out, because I don't own a Japanese cart, but it is a consideration for version differences. So this guy, his gimmick is that he's only vulnerable when his eye is open. And there's 3 of them. So you have to shoot them when their eye is open. You only have to shoot them 4 times if you have the power beam. When they turn red, you know they only have 1 shot left before they die. However, they're also your platform, because before they're dead, the top and the bottoms of the screen will do damage to you. So you need to make sure to, you know... I've heard a couple people call it the leapfrog boss, and that's a pretty apt description. So now we're in the final stage. And now there's a boss rush. It's basically the exact same bosses all over again, except you have to fight them one after the other. So hopefully this will go smoothly. Some of the strats for these guys can get you pretty close to death if you move just in just the wrong way, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, that was a bit messy, but I didn't die. Good enough. Alright, so apparently there was a stream hiccup at some point. Hopefully that didn't mess up things too much. So now just wait for it to come down, stand in the safe spot, and he's dead. So if I had kept the armor power from stage 6, I would have just been able to barrel through that guy again and stand in the safe spot. Would have saved me a few seconds. But not a big deal. And this guy again. Alright. And now the leapfrog boss. Alright, so after I kill this boss, get ready on the timer, because the final boss is pretty short. Whoa! Whoop. Okay, that was almost really bad, but managed to recover. Almost fell off and landed in the ceiling, which would have been really bad. Well, it wouldn't have been horrible, but it would have killed me and it would have looked stupid. Alright, so get ready on the timer, whoever's manning it. This is the hardest final boss in the universe, but he's also really fast. Time. So, what was my time? Let's see here. I can already tell it's going to be way over 13 minutes. Oh well, that's not horrible, I guess. Worse than I wanted, but what can you do? So, you're so awesome for killing the plug-it-in boss that they decide to give you immortality and tell you, hey, you get to protect everybody forever and ever. Amen. That's your reward. But now we get to try a game for experts. However, I'm going to use a different password than what it's giving me to get a better setup. So get ready on timer, because we're about to kick it into high gear here. Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Sorry, miscounted that slightly. So, second loop. Doesn't look too different right from the start, but you can tell pretty quickly that there's a lot more enemies and they're more dangerous, or they would be if I wasn't killing them so quickly. But the nice part about the password system for this game is it lets you keep basically whatever power-ups you had, including your score, which is kind of weird. But so that password that I put in is basically having me with the power beam, armor, and 3 extra lives, which is the ideal setup for running through Loop 2. The extra lives obviously aren't too important for like a record attempt, but it's good to have for a marathon. So, like I said, everything in Loop 2 has about twice as much health as it did in Loop 1, and tends to be a lot more dangerous. So I'm going to be playing it a little bit safer here than I would for a record attempt, just because there's actually a couple spots where if I die and lose something important, then I'm probably going to have to soft reset and restore from a password, because I do not know how you're supposed to be able to get through a couple of these spots without having power-ups. In fact, I'm pretty sure 4-2 is literally impossible, because there's a couple of crushing walls that spawn that I don't think you have time to kill before they'll crush you against the wall, if you don't have at least some kind of weapon. But hopefully that won't happen. Of course, if that does end up happening, I'm gonna just have to use a password. There's really no way around it. Okay, so one big thing about Loop 2 is that these snapper things move a lot faster than the... Oops! Wow, okay. I've never had that happen before, where that thing caught up to me and hit me. So you can chalk that up to your "that's never happened before" tally, if anybody's keeping track. So jumping through those guys on the second loop is a lot harder, so I cheese it by triggering one of them and then taking a bit of a shortcut. So I'm mostly picking up this armor for safety. I don't really need it for anything in particular, but like I said, Loop 2 is incredibly dangerous. There's a lot more enemies, and there's much more lag. Whoop, okay. Almost took a hit there. So there's a lot more enemy lag in Loop 2 just because there's a lot more enemies. And this guy's pattern is completely different, so I'm going to do a bit of a safe strat, because doing it the fast way is pretty risky, because he's random enough that I might get shot by a laser if I try to do it the fast way. But you can stand in, like, right here and shoot them when they open up. For some reason, their hitboxes actually change when they open up. You cannot, however, shoot through those golden floors and ceilings right above them, so you can't shoot directly into them, but you can shoot just a little bit to the side if you have the power beam, and whenever they open up, you can shoot them that way. So that's a safe strat. It takes maybe 4 or 5 extra seconds, but like I said, the dangerous strat is pretty unpredictable. So, and unlike the first loop, the rail cars in this level have enough health that they're basically impossible to kill before they get to you. However, you can just kind of blaze through them with the fireball. So that's why I'm going to be using the fireball for this stage. Pick up this extra life just for safety. Prepare yourself for massive incoming lag in this part right here. There's about 1 million enemies that spawn on screen and they all shoot at you. Crap. Well, that's not ideal, but oh shoot. Okay. That was almost really bad, but made it through. I had to wait for the cycle because there's basically no way to get through that quickly without having an armor power-up. So I had to do my backup strat. So that guy's way more dangerous on Loop 2 because I don't know if you noticed how fast his little satellites were spinning, but it's nearly impossible to thread the needle. So you either need to have a fireball or an armor power-up to get through them, and the fireball makes the stage easier, so I may as well just use the fireball. So as you can see, this is already quite different than first loop's auto-scroller. Different path, different enemies, different power-ups. but I need to have the power beam for the mini-boss in this section, otherwise I won't be able to kill it very quickly. And I also use the armor power-up to run into one of them and kill it, basically immediately, which makes the fight a lot easier. So I really want to make sure that I don't lose my armor power-up before I get there, otherwise the fight gets about 10 times harder. I have done it, but it's not easy, and I'd rather not if I can avoid it. However, I got through the hard part of this stage, so I think I'm good. Makes you hang out here for way too long fighting those things. Alright. So I'm gonna use my armor power-up to instantly kill one of these 4 things. This is the jump rope boss, as a couple people in my stream have called it. Alright, that was just about perfect, so I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. Pretty happy with that outcome. Alright, so this part's actually, I would say, easier, because for one thing, it's just the layout is a bit easier, plus I don't have to make sure to hold on to my armor power-up, although it does make Stage 5 a bit faster if I can hold on to it until the end of Stage 5. So this is the part I was talking about where I'm convinced it's impossible to get past without having a weapon, because I don't think you can kill these walls fast enough before they crush you, and they spawn one right after the other. Dodges. This part's a little annoying, because that guy on the right there, you can't kill him before he gets off the screen, and he causes a ton of lag. So you may as well just let him live and eat the lag, because realistically you're not gonna kill him before he ends up leaving the screen anyway, so. Alright. It's pretty good so far. Alright, this guy is a lot more dangerous on Loop 2 also because he moves a lot, both he and his laser shooters move a lot faster, plus he's got twice as much health. But it's a pretty good pattern you can use. I don't know if this is the best pattern, but it's the best pattern I've found so far. Cool. Alright, that went well. So that's definitely one spot I'd want to experiment with once I start doing like actual world record attempts on that, though. Like world record attempts is like, okay, I'm done now, because I want to try to find a much better pattern for that guy. All right, so Stage 5 isn't terribly different, except there's a lot more laser shooters, and they have twice as much health, so it's a lot more dangerous. But ultimately, it's basically the same strategy. However, there's also no armor power-up anywhere in this stage until the very end, so you have to be really careful. That guy just for safety. These laser guys like to cause a ton of lag. Alright, so that thing that's chasing me there, if that catches you, it's instant death. It counts as a crush death. It moves pretty fast on the second loop, so you can't dawdle in this stage at all. So this part's a little annoying because I want to try to make sure I get... Okay, good. So I want to make sure that there's still 3 of those wave things on the screen before I get... come on, get over there. Before I get to this section, because there's a guy who spawns in the top there that gets in my way and takes a really long time to get around, so... Come on, shoot it. There we go. Alright, so this is why I wanted to keep the armor power up, because I can just barrel through there. And I'm saving this armor power up. Well, I wanted to save that armor power up for the boss, just in case he did something screwy, because his shots move a lot faster in the second loop. So that wasn't ideal, but it's not a huge deal. I can definitely kill this guy without needing the armor power up. But his shots move pretty fast, so it would have been nice to have the extra breathing room. But it doesn't matter. Okay, he's dead. Alright, so if you thought this next stage was headache-inducing on the first loop, it's even worse on the second loop, for a couple of reasons. So the first part of it, in the first loop it always scrolled the same direction. In the second loop, it scrolls depending on which direction you have gravity flipped. However, it is otherwise totally identical to the first loop. So you can basically take the same route through it that you did in the first loop. It's just more confusing because the screen is moving in a different way. However, the second loop, the second part of it is a little bit different because not only does it move faster, but it only moves when you're on the ground, for whatever reason. I want to get this one. I need that armor power up for the boss rush, otherwise I seriously will not be able to do the boss rush. So if I take an accidental hit, I'm gonna have to redo at least part of stage 6 again. Okay, cool. Alright, so this guy is more annoying on the second loop for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the first time he opens his eye, he only has it open for about 2 frames, so he's really hard to hit the first time around. And secondly, as you can see, they have different amounts of health. The worst part about it is that it's random, so which one of them gets the most health. So you have about a 33% chance of shooting the right one, because only the one that has the most health actually matters. And if you shot the wrong one, you lose at least 5 seconds. So that's pretty annoying. So now we just basically play the leapfrog game for an extra long time while I wait for them all to turn red, and then I can shoot all 3 of them. I can do this if I accidentally destroy one of these guys, but it's really dangerous. I really don't feel like trying it. So, just playing it super safe here. Alright, so I'm gonna wait for him to open his eye again. Alright, cool. So now we're on to the second loop boss rush. And if I take a hit before I get to the third boss, I'm gonna have to reset and restore from a password, which will waste a bit of time. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. Because the first boss can actually troll me a bit, depending on his shot pattern. Like, he can shoot me in a way that's really hard to avoid. But I can do something a bit safer than the normal strat if I have to. Okay, wow, that was super dangerous, but he didn't shoot me, so good enough. Alright, once again, safety strat, because I really don't want to get shot here. There we go. Okay, looking good so far. Okay, so that is why I needed to keep the armor power up, because that guy is borderline impossible to avoid his shots, and while the gravity fireball will get you in his safe zone, the gravity fireball kills all the other bosses way slower. Like, it's at least a minute, if not more. So you really don't want to try to do that. Unless you're talking about a task situation. In a task situation, actually no, wait, it's not fast in a task situation because the gravity fireball does not work against the leapfrog boss. And the time it would gain you on the other bosses in a task situation would make it still not worth bringing the fireball in here. Alright, don't troll me, buddy. Give me a good pattern, buddy. Begging you. Ah! Alright, that was alright. Not ideal, but alright. Alright, so now leapfrog boss again. Ah, of course it gives me that one. Okay, so that's the worst thing that can happen. To have the weak one be the one that you shoot first. Although I guess it doesn't matter too much as long as shooting the middle one or the weak one, but the worst part about shooting the weak one first is that you immediately know it gave you bad RNG. So, that's a little annoying. So you get to chill out for a little bit on this guy. Because other than the random health, he's no different than the first loop. But your jump window is actually kind of small because you don't want to accidentally jump into the one above you, because that'll cut your jump short and you'll land on the floor and die. And that's obviously really bad. Alright, so get ready, because the final boss of the second loop is more dangerous, but not hilariously so. So, get ready. Because he actually... Ah, damn it! He actually shoots at you on the second loop. Time! Alright, so that was second loop of Metal Storm. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me see what my time was. That was actually really good compared to my current record. See just how good it was. So, yeah. That was 1 second behind the world record. That makes me pretty damn happy. So my sum of best is currently about 1525, so there's still a lot that can come off of this run. But damn! 1 second behind the world record in a marathon run is fucking amazing. Alright, so... I don't know who's up next. Oh, it's probably Guardian Legend. You guys should definitely stick around and watch that, because it's going to be awesome. This is Uranium Anchor, signing off.